Again, we're all about trying to keep the current law as it is and not allow this administration to raise these taxes. Now, what we're continuing to hear out of the White House is that they're going to want to make those rates, keep them as they are for folks making under $200,000 a year, and then taxing everybody else above that, raising them back up to near 40%.
Well, that wouldn't be 20% on dividends.
No, sir. And you know, the rhetoric is great, but the reality is 50% of those affected by the tax hikes are small business people. They're the ones creating the jobs. So we got to set the rhetoric aside and I think all commit ourselves to help small business. That's how we get the economy back.
He's much worse than Greg.
Yeah, definitely.
Senator Bayh, don't you think? I mean,
he's making more sense. That's
oh, that's a shot. My goodness, that's the best
with
shot
all due respect, as we say.
But we hear this a lot, right? That small business owners are racked with uncertainty. Is there a way for the White House to neutralize that by saying, we think we've done enough policy-wise for a while, and we're going to let this recovery do what it will on its own?
I think we need to back up a second here, Carl. We've suffered a financial panic and the worst recession since the 1930s in our country. All that predated the Obama administration, so we got to acknowledge that. So the question is, what do we do going forward? They had to act. They come in. There is a sizable block, as both Judd, as people will recognize, Eric and Judd will recognize, in the Democratic Party that's even further to the left than the administration. There's no doubt about that. So they're going to act. How do they manage those people? They've moved on a number of things. We now need to consolidate that reform and maximize the amount of certainty going forward so that the small business sector, the private sector can make the investments and create the jobs we all need. So to kind of net, to jump to the end of that, we don't need to raise taxes now. Eric is exactly right. If we're going to deal with those things, we ought to wait until the economy has a full head of steam going, jobs are being created, several 100,000 a month. Then you can deal with some of the long-term issues that ought to start with spending restraint. Then we can deal with the long-term issues. We don't need added uncertainty, added burdens on business right now. To Eric's list, I would add some of the increased taxes on companies that do business overseas, also some of the EPA regulations that in my part of the country would threaten to really harm the economy. We don't need some of those things right now. Those should be deferred until the economy is robustly moving forward.
Then why do we keep hearing that an energy bill may crop up this session? Or that you mentioned card check. Is there a way to tamp that down?
Oh, I think most observers realize that the card check bill is not going to even come up for a vote. With regard to energy, the chances of something involving a broad cap and trade approach are fairly small right now. You might get something providing incentives for renewables and that sort of thing, heading us toward less dependence on imports of energy, but it's going to be a more modest bill than a large bill.
We needed Maxine or Bernie Sanders. He's just not...
he's talking too much sense for you?
You're not doing it.
Is that, you want me to unleash my inner radical, Joe?
Franken, Feingold.
I don't think Franken's going to come on the show.
Really?
He's a TV guy. He of all people should be...
NBCer.
Yeah, he of all
Well, you know, if you want to do something to stimulate the economy, you could make it clear that the tax rates aren't going to go up at the end of this year. Right. I mean, you've got a situation where you're talking about a 30% increase in capital gains rates and 150% increase in dividend rates. If this administration really wants to stimulate, say they're going to continue those tax rates, all those tax rates, and as a very practical matter, that will have an immediate impact on economic activity, will be positive, rather than having this layered lead ball coming onto the economy, you know, one lead ball after another, which is the credit contraction, the tax increases, the health care bill, and the government, which is expanding so quickly that its companies and small businesses especially have no idea where the next regulation is going to come from. They just know it's coming.
Well, that's not going to happen.
You know, look, listen, I agree with both these gentlemen here. You're right. We cannot allow for even talk of raising taxes right now.